Hello, hope y'all had a great weekend. As mentioned, if you finish this ed puzzle and answer the questions in its entirety, and you do fairly well in the ed puzzle, don't get them all wrong, I will add 20 points to your test score in Skyward. So right now in Skyward, you're seeing your raw score. There's no curve been added, nothing. A lot of us did okay. Some of us didn't do well at all. And then some of us did really well. I was really proud of some of y'all's scores, especially since y'all are remote learning, which is new for everyone. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. Number 1, what plant cell organelle turns sugar into usable energy? The most commonly answered wrong answer, I don't know if that makes sense, was chloroplast. A lot of people selected chloroplast. Chloroplast is the organelle that makes sugar. It's in leaves, in most trees that are green. It's one of those cell organelles that plants have that animals do not. So chloroplast makes sugar, but which organelle turns sugar into usable energy, ATP? That's the mitochondria. The mitochondria is that one. Mighty mitochondria, your powerhouse. So once the chloroplast makes the sugar, those sugar molecules go to mitochondria. The mitochondria breaks them down using oxygen and breaks that sugar down with oxygen, and it's left with ATP energy and also carbon dioxide. And that's why we breathe out carbon dioxide, because all the mitochondria in all of our cells are constantly producing carbon dioxide. So the answer there was A. In a eukaryotic cell, what organelle stores DNA and controls the functions of the cell's other organelles? So prono, eukaryotic cells, that means it does have membrane-bound organelles and a nucleus, so it's more complicated than a bacteria cell. Bacteria is prokaryote. So which organelle does this function? We just talked about the function of the mitochondria. It's used for turning sugar into ATP energy. The rough ER, that is our factory. That's where ribosomes make proteins. Nucleus, this is your brain or your headquarters or your boss. This controls your cell's functions and stores your DNA. So H is the answer. Cell membrane can control what goes in and out of the cell, but it doesn't control the cell's entire function. Nucleus can actually tell the cell membrane what to let in and what to let out as well. Number 3, students observed cells under the microscope. They observed that the cell has a cell wall, cell membrane, nucleus, and many chloroplasts. Which observation helps students identify the type of cell observed? So hopefully if you have your notes with your table on plant cells and animal cells, you know that cell wall is only present in plants. Animals don't have it. Our cells are a lot more flexible. The plant cells, they're more rigid. They have that brick wall, that cell wall. We both have cell membrane, animals and plants. Animals and plants have a nucleus. Animals do not have chloroplasts. We can't go through photosynthesis. We can't make our own sugar. So the answer here, C, the presence of a chloroplast means that the cells are from a plant. Cell membrane, plants also have a cell membrane. So they have that cell wall, but within that cell wall is a cell membrane. Some people get mixed up on that. Okay, number 4, what kind of cell is represented by the diagram above? First clue, it's kind of rectangular. Animal cells are going to be more squishy, blobby, circular shaped. And then plant cells are typically going to have more angles. They're either going to be hexagon or rectangle, or they're just going to be a little bit more angular. So that's our first hint. Our second hint is this structure right here. That's your central vacuole. Here we see our mitochondria, and then there's an extra organelle. That's our chloroplast. So we should have picked G, plant. Number 5, a plant cell has a cell wall and a cell membrane. What is the purpose of the cell wall? We just mentioned, kind of helps make them nice and rigid. A, regulates what goes in and out of the cell. Nope, that is your cell membrane. Your cell membrane has those portals in it, and it can figure out what's right for the cell and what's wrong for the cell. B, controls functions of the cell. Nope, that's the boss lady. That's nucleus. C, converts energy from food into energy for a cell. You should know what that means, which one that one is. Your mitochondria. And then D, provides structure for the cell. That's the answer. Your cell wall provides structure. And 6, You make a model of a cell in a large rectangular clear plastic container filled with the following: gelatin, green M&Ms, red licorice, several beans, one large inflated balloon, candy sprinkles, and an avocado seed. What does the inflated balloon represent in the model shown above? A lot of people picked F, nucleus. They decided that this balloon was the nucleus. Now, in animals, typically the nucleus is your largest organelle. But in plants, just like in this diagram right here, here's our nucleus, but we have a larger organelle there. That's the central vacuole. So a central vacuole in plants, which stores water, it can take up to 90% of that plant cell. Stores a whole lot of water, and the purpose of that large central vacuole is to kind of inflate the cell and make it nice and full so it can stand up tall. When those vacuoles start to get depleted in water, don't have enough water, the cell starts to shrink. And then if you have a lot of cells in a plant start to shrink, that plant's going to start to wilt. So this balloon is our vacuole. This avocado, that might be the nucleus. So one, it's the biggest, and the pressure from a balloon, if you think about it, the air in the balloon, it's pushing outward. It's making the actual balloon, the rubber of the balloon, nice and taut. That's kind of the same function of the vacuole. It's pushing the cell outward in all directions. Okay, 7. A student observing a sample of cheek cells notices that all the cells are identical. Which statement below explains why these cells are identical? Now, I could have said bone cells, brain cells, any type of cell. It doesn't matter if it's a cheek cell or what. But we should have been able to grab our cell theory foldable, the one that I drew the giraffe and you drew another animal, and figure this out. So they all come from the same location in the body, not necessarily on my head, I have hair cells, I have skin cells, I have bone cells, I have brain cells. Even though they're all in one little area, they can all be completely different looking cells. B, all cells come from other cells through division. That's right. That's it. So all cells come from pre-existing cells. C, they do not have a cell wall. That doesn't make sense. Two cells that don't have a cell wall, they might still be identical. Like two skin cells, neither of those have a cell wall, but they're identical. And they have a chloroplast, same thing. That makes sense. Okay, moving on. Number 8, which of the following is a correct statement for all living things? Again, this is your cell theory foldable. F, all living organisms are trying to find a mate, not necessarily. Like animals like us, yes, we have to find a mate to make offspring or babies, but bacteria and a lot of other organisms, they can just clone themselves. Like if you see, if you have bacteria multiplying on a countertop because you haven't cleaned the raw chicken that touched it off, then they're just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying because they're dividing into two. So that's not true. G, all organisms are trying to maintain homeostasis. Now, if you watch that one ed puzzle, homeostasis means inner balance, so you're healthy. Homeostasis. That means I'm not too hot, not too cold, not too thirsty, not too hungry, just right. The further you get away from homeostasis, the closer you get to potentially dying. That means something's really going wrong in your body if you're not in homeostasis. H, all living organisms are composed of cells with nucleus in them. All eukaryotic organisms are, but we do know that there's prokaryotic organisms out there. Bacteria cells are prokaryotic. No, you do. And they do not have a nucleus. And then J, all organisms need to eat to survive. Plants don't need to eat. They make their own sugar. 9, which of the following is something you have in common with bacteria? You have both at least one cell with a nucleus. Sounds okay, but it's not. Again, bacteria are what? That's right, prokaryotic. Pro means they do not have a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Good, so A is no good. You're both prokaryotic. No, I'm eukaryotic. We have eukaryotic cells. That means they're more complicated. They have organelles in them, including a nucleus. You both have at least one cell. Bingo. Bacteria is alive. I'm alive. If anything's alive, it has to have at least one cell. And both are eukaryotic. Nope, bacteria is not. 10. As students left class, they were asked to write a statement about the properties that all cells share. A sample of students' statements is recorded below. A. All cells make their own food using external energy sources. Can your cells make food? Do you not have to eat pizza or anything? You just never ever get hungry because your cells are making your own food? I'm jealous if that's correct. So no, A is not a correct statement. B, all cells extract energy from food to survive. Now, plants make their own food, but they still need to use that food. So they use that sugar. When the chloroplasts make the sugar, that sugar molecule goes to mitochondria, and mitochondria extracts or takes out that energy and turns it into ATP energy. So B is good. C, all cells use a nucleus to control other cellular functions. Prokaryotic cells do not. They do not have a nucleus. Or D, all cells respond to changes in order to maintain homeostasis. Yes, on our characteristics of life graphic organizer that we did, I think 2 weeks ago or something, all organisms are trying to maintain homeostasis. All organisms want inner balance. They don't want to be burning or freezing. They want to be happy. Even bacteria. If I spray bacteria with antibacterial spray, their homeostasis is disrupted to the point of death. So B and D are correct. That's G. Okay, 11. Seeds are the offspring. Now, offspring is an important word. Hopefully you knew what that meant. Offspring means baby. So a cat's offspring are her kittens. So seeds are an offspring of mature plants. Mature means grown up. If a seed germinates means grows, and survives, it will grow to become a mature plant. Based on this information, what level of organization describes seeds? So if a seed is an offspring, therefore a seed is a baby, what level of organization is a baby? Is it tissue, organ systems, or organism? Now, if you have a baby brother and you say that he's tissue, I worry for you. We know that baby humans are human beings. We got to treat them with respect just like anyone else. So that is an organism. Organism is a whole unit of life, like a human or a bacteria or an antelope or a baby or a seed. So seed is an organism. 12, the food that you eat travels from your mouth down your esophagus into your stomach, through your small intestine, large intestine, before your body rids itself of solid waste. So you go to the bathroom. As the food passes through your body, it is digested and you get important nutrients from the food. Which of the following is the correct term used to describe a group of body parts working together to perform a specific function? So again, we just talked about organisms. That's like a whole living being. So I am an organism. So if we said that, we're just talking about my mouth, my esophagus, my stomach. What about my skin? What about my brain? We haven't included everything. Organ system is more accurate. So remember an organ, that'd be like your heart or your brain or your mouth. That is an organ. Your esophagus is an organ. So if we were talking about one of these things, one organ, if we were only talking about the esophagus, that would be a good answer. But since we're talking about multiple, we're talking about a system. Remember, a system is all the parts working together to fulfill a function, like a solar system, all the planets moving around the sun forms that system. So G was your answer for 12, organ system. Okay, almost done. We got 3 more. Blood is an odd structure in animals because it is one of the few structures that functions and is fluid. Blood is mostly made of 2 types of cells: red blood cells carrying oxygen to all the body, and white blood cells which protect the body from disease using a variety of methods. So we got red blood cells and white blood cells. Blood is classified as now if you use that image that I included, or you used your notes from when we talked about types of cells in the first cell theory notes that y'all took in your notebook or on a scratch piece of paper or Google Doc, We know that the first, most basic level of organization is a cell. When you have multiple cells working together, such as red blood cells and white blood cells moving through your bloodstream, working together, that creates tissue. So that's tissue. The next level of organization, once you have all the tissue fulfilling that function, you have an organ. So let's say I bite my tongue. I just damaged tongue tissue because I only bit part of my tongue. Now the whole tongue, that is in the organ. Organ system, again, is all the parts fulfilling a function. So my tongue, my whole mouth, my teeth, my esophagus, just like we talked about in the previous question, my stomach, my small intestine, my large intestine, my colon, all that. That's organ system. And then organism is a whole living thing. So red blood cells, white blood cells working together is tissue. Now 14, this is a difficult one. A lot of students had issues with it. Leaves are the structures of plants that produce sugar through photosynthesis and release water into the atmosphere. Below is a cross-section of a leaf or part of a leaf. So if this is part of a leaf and that is a whole leaf, then wait, what's our question? Which of these best describes a leaf? So first off, let's dissect this question. These little blobs here, you don't have to worry about any of those words. A lot of times in test questions, they're going to put extra words that you don't know just to kind of throw you. So these, you haven't heard of any of these. You're not responsible for any of them, so just ignore those. But you should recognize these little blobs all over here, these little ones, these bigger ones, these kind of flat ones. You should recognize that those are cells. The darker dots within them is their nucleus. So plant cells, they have a nucleus. They're eukaryotic. So cells working together, as pictured here, that creates tissue, just like we talked about. And then when you have all the tissue of one area and you form a specific structure, such as a leaf, or my example before, I bite my tongue, damage tongue tissue, all that tissue creates the tongue. The leaf is an organ. So that is one structure on your body. One leaf on a tree is an organ. All the leaves on that tree, conducting photosynthesis or using energy from the sun to make sugar, that's an organ system. The organism is the tree. So answer here was H, organ. Finally, last one, which y'all have seen before on a quiz. Nesting dolls are a set of hollow wooden toys that have the same shape. Smaller nesting dolls fit into larger dolls, so that the smaller dolls... skip. Students are asked to use nesting dolls to model the level of organization from smallest to largest structure. Which model best demonstrates the level of organization in plants and animals? Okay. So again from your notes, and again from that word wall that I attached to the test assignment, your basic smallest unit of life from cell theory, from our foldable, is the cell. So that immediately crosses out A, because tissue is not smaller than cells. Crosses out C, because tissues are definitely not larger than, or cells are definitely not larger than organisms. Yeah, crosses out A and C. So we're left with B and D. Now you should bring out your notes or that word wall. And we're going to make sure that we have our organization, which order correct. Cells fit into tissues. Multiple cells working together make tissue. Tissues make organs. Organs make organ systems. So multiple organs working together make systems. And then all your organ systems, your digestive system, your immune system, your nervous system, all those make an organism, or you. Now let's look at D. Cells make tissues. Tissues make organ systems. Organ systems make organs. Yeah, that's where we messed up. Organs make organ systems. So these are flipped. So that was your last one. Answer was B. If you finish this in its entirety and you answered some of the questions, I will add 20 points to your exam. So you're done for the day. If you still feel like you are a little behind on your studying for science, I recommend going to my YouTube or going back through our new notes and assignments and videos and just kind of brushing up a little bit. Our final unit exam is going to be this Friday. So look for the link on Friday and you're going to take another Eduphoria test. It's going to be about 20 questions. But if you've understood what I've just been talking about and you did okay on your test, you'll be just fine. And then remember your plants or your animal or plant diagram, your 3D project, that's worth a test grade too. So if you're not a great test taker, put a lot of energy into that. Anyways, thanks for watching and you'll have a great day. Bye.